Before we get into today's edition of Just the Truth, let me tell you about the latest special from Mike Lindell at MyPillow. The standard MyPillow, normally $49.98 for a limited time only, just $14.88 with promo code Joey. Go to MyPillow.com, click on the radio listener specials, and see all the specials. There's a limited quantity of just 10 at this special price. That's $14.88 with promo code Joey. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. Welcome in, and what a day we had yesterday, huh? At 12 noon, President Donald J. Trump became the 47th President of the United States while closing out one of the nation's darkest chapters, ushering Joe Biden and Kamala Harris out of the nation's capital. We have all the highlights for you. What's next for Joe Biden, and especially his second in command, as Kamala Harris finds herself in a precarious position? She's too young to retire, but too damaged for anyone to want to have her on their team. Joe Biden's too old and senile to do most anything. Not that it's that important, but we'll take a look one last time at the dynamic Democrat duo, tongue-in-cheek. Migrants waiting in Mexico to enter the U.S. with the Biden administration's CBP One app broke down in tears after learning their appointments were canceled immediately as President Donald Trump took office yesterday. And get this. And this is what's wrong with our country. At least 4 lawsuits were filed against the new Trump administration over DOGE, the government efficiency, within minutes of the president being sworn in. We have those details for you, too. And country star Carrie Underwood showed her professionalism and showmanship yesterday when she was forced to sing America the Beautiful a cappella because of a technical glitch during the inauguration ceremonies.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson Bill, but, you know, they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson Bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
It was a beautiful, cold day in Washington, D.C. yesterday. For those of you who follow me on social media, check out my Facebook post and a couple of the videos that I posted on YouTube. Be sure and subscribe when you go to my YouTube channel. But you'll see me all wrapped up as I was just outside of the Capitol on Capitol Street, giving some frequent reports to Mike Gallagher and the Mike Gallagher Show. It was a fun day, but it was a cold day for sure, but it was worth it as we watched the inaugural festivities take place. Some, of course, were canceled due to the weather and maybe security issues. We may not ever know the true, what really happened there. I suspect that it was more security than it was weather because, quite honestly and personally, I would have been fine sitting out there. The sun was just wonderful. But it was cold. President Donald J. Trump immediately started with the issues that he had talked about out on the campaign trail, with security at the southern border at the top of his list.
First, I will declare a national emergency at our southern border. Illegal entry will immediately be halted, and we will begin the process of returning millions and millions of criminal aliens back to the places from which they came. We will reinstate my Remain in Mexico policy. I will end the practice of catch and release. And I will send troops to the southern border to repel the disastrous invasion of our country. Under the orders I signed today, we will also be designating the cartels as foreign terrorist organizations.
The president then talked about his desire to be seen as a peacemaker and a true unifier.
My proudest legacy will be that of a peacemaker and unifier. That's what I want to be, a peacemaker and a unifier. I'm pleased to say that as of yesterday, one day before I assumed office, the hostages in the Middle East are coming back home to their families.
The president acknowledged that he knows a little something about the weaponization of the justice system, saying that it will never happen again, vowing to restore fair, equal, and impartial justice for all Americans.
Never again will the immense power of the state be weaponized to persecute political opponents, something I know something about. We will not allow that to happen. It will not happen again. Under my leadership, we will restore fair, equal, and impartial justice under the constitutional rule of law. And we are going to bring law and order back to our cities. This week, I will also end the government policy of trying to socially engineer race and gender into every aspect of public and private life. We will forge a society that is colorblind and merit-based. As of today, it will henceforth be the official policy of the United States government that there are only two genders, male and female. This week, I will reinstate any service members who were unjustly expelled from our military for objecting to the COVID vaccine mandate with full back pay.
He didn't stop there as he spoke about tariffs and taxes and talked about the External Revenue Service, promising to establish the new Department of Government Efficiency, now known as DOGE. More about that in just a moment. Here's the president.
I will immediately begin the overhaul of our trade system to protect American workers and families. Instead of taxing our citizens to enrich other countries, we will tariff and tax foreign countries to enrich our citizens. For this purpose, we are establishing the External Revenue Service to collect all tariffs, duties, and revenues. It will be massive amounts of money pouring into our treasury, coming from foreign sources. The American dream will soon be back and thriving like never before to restore competence and effectiveness to our federal government. My administration will establish the brand new Department of Government Efficiency.
The newly inaugurated president then explained how he will tackle inflation and do so in part by again establishing our energy independence by taking advantage of our natural resources and having the largest oil reserves in our history, he said, while also pledging, and I like this, to revoke the electric vehicle mandate, allowing us to buy the type of car that we choose.
Next, I will direct all members of my cabinet to marshal the vast powers at their disposal to defeat what was record inflation and rapidly bring down costs and prices. The inflation crisis was caused by massive overspending and escalating energy prices, and that is why today I will also declare a national energy emergency. We will drill, baby, drill. America will be a manufacturing nation once again, and we have something that no other manufacturing nation will ever have, the largest amount of oil and gas of any country on earth, and we are going to use it. We will bring prices down, fill our strategic reserves up again, right to the top, and export American energy all over the world. We will be a rich nation again, and it is that liquid gold under our feet that will help to do it. With my actions today, we will end the Green New Deal and we will revoke the electric vehicle mandate, saving our auto industry and keeping my sacred pledge to our great American auto workers. In other words, you'll be able to buy the car of your choice. We will build automobiles in America again at a rate that nobody could have dreamt possible just a few years ago. And thank you to the auto workers of our nation for your inspiring vote of confidence. We did tremendously with their vote.
More of our coverage of yesterday's historic day in the nation's capital coming up next. Your comments are welcome on the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. There's a lot of talk about making America great again, and it begins with making America healthy again. Dr. Ashley Lucas and her team at PhD Weight Loss are at the forefront to educate and guide you to be your best self. The millions being spent in propping up Big Pharma are astounding, only to create long-term dependency and harmful side effects. Let's take a natural approach that isn't connected to a pharmaceutical company's bottom line. The coaches at PhD Weight Loss will show you how. The entire program is centered around science and nutrition, a proven roadmap that has helped over 8,000 clients lose over 331,000 pounds. You'll learn what to eat and when, how to quiet cravings, and finally get rid of that belly fat. Plus, you'll never take a medication. How many pounds would you like to lose in 2025? Do it the natural way with PhD Weight Loss, here to lead the charge to make America healthy again. Call PhD Weight Loss and schedule your consultation. 864-644-1900. That's 864-644-1900, or go to myphdweightloss.com. Continuing our coverage of yesterday's inaugural, and boy, it was a busy day from start to finish. Just a jam-packed day. And if you were in Washington, D.C., and I was just so blessed and so fortunate to do so, I started my day very early yesterday morning. Mike Gallagher and I in the nation's capital, Gallagher in studio. I was out roaming around doing my various reports. And yes, it was cold, but it was just fun. I didn't even think about how cold it was because I was so excited to be there and just out talking to various people out on the street who, a lot of them like me, they had tickets to see the inauguration. And, of course, with the movement of that being inside, supposedly for weather conditions, and honestly, I would have been happy to have been out in the weather, which I was anyway. But I really believe that it was more about security than maybe it was about just the cold weather. Yes, it was cold. It was around 23 degrees. But in the sunlight, it was a beautiful day. It was a nice, clear, sunny day. But still, it is what it is. We got through it, and it was a great day. A lot of people packed. There's 20,000 plus people who went to the arena here in the Washington area to be able to see the president, to go to the inaugural parade. The indoor parade is a lot different, but still, it was safe. That's the good thing. It was safe. The Trump administration, announced a lot of different things yesterday. The president sat down in one of multiple signing ceremonies where he signed executive actions, and there's still more to come. But here's the thing, and this is what is wrong with our country as it is. The Trump administration yesterday, soon after, within minutes of him being sworn in, was already sued by multiple nonprofits and groups over the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE as we know it. Literally, as President Donald Trump was sworn into office, these lawsuits were waiting to be filed the minute he became president. This is what's wrong with our country. When you have groups out there who are this far left and who just want to waste our tax dollars, because now our government is going to have to defend the actions of the president. So here's what it's all about. As you know, after the November election, President-elect then announced that he would set up DOGE with co-chairs Elon Musk, the owner of the social media platform X, who's made billions of dollars literally, businessman Vivek Ramaswamy, a one-time presidential candidate himself, very successful business person. And who wouldn't want these two men who have proven that they can make money, that they know about cutting expenses, that they know about running a business? Who wouldn't want them involved in our government and making sure that our government is efficient? Well, there's a number of groups out there that were just waiting for Donald Trump to take office for them to sue, to try to say that these two men should not be involved. As you know, Trump has tagged them to be this non-governmental task force assigned to find ways to terminate federal workers, cut programs, slash federal regulations. The three have said that they want to cut as much as $2 trillion in government spending. Who wouldn't want that? According to the Epoch Times, though, there are some who don't. At least 4 lawsuits were filed yesterday by multiple groups in a federal court in Washington, D.C. One was filed against DOGE by the American Federation of Teachers. Get that. Let that sink in. American Federations of Teachers. Then the other one was Minority Veterans of America, the American Public Health Association, and the Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington, D.C. Another lawsuit was filed by the Center for Biological Diversity. I bet you can guess what that's all about. And a separate one was filed by the National Security Counselors. Another was filed by Public Citizen, a left-leaning consumer watchdog group. The Center for Biological Diversity lawsuit, the group said in a statement, is designed to obtain records showing how individuals affiliated with DOGE, quote, have interacted with the White House since the presidential transition began in November. Now, who cares? We want to give them broad leeway to do what they do best, and that's run the government like a business. The Center for Biological Diversity's executive director, Kieran Suckling, said, whether it's Trump or Elon Musk who's really running the government, we're a nation of laws, and the people have a right to know what Musk and his cronies have been up to during the transition. She said, we're going to find out, and we won't leave any stone unturned. Look, I got a message for you, lady. Stay out of their way. Get out of their way. Get out of our government's way. Ms. Suckling said that the group believes that DOGE will try to remove federal protections for our air, water, and most imperiled wildlife. The National Security Counselors, on the other hand, a group says it seeks to lawfully acquire materials from the government and distribute it to the public, who seeks in its suit to obtain records connected to DOGE and flagged recommendations by unaccountable outsiders without transparent deliberations, which will reduce the size of the federal workforce by whatever means necessary. They're afraid that some bureaucrats are going to lose their job. Again, I say, stay out of their way. Get out of our government. Elon Musk, Vivek Ramaswamy, and Donald Trump have just as much right to jump in here and try to fix what is wrong, and you need to stay out of the way. The Public Citizen's legal challenge, meanwhile, against the Musk-led organization, is designed to make sure it complies with the requirements established by the Federal Advisory Committee Act. Look, I think the first thing they should do is just eliminate the Federal Advisory Committee Act. Then we wouldn't have to worry about it, right? They went on to say in their statement, DOGE's operations during the transition period were shrouded in secrecy. Media reporting indicates that DOGE took steps outside of public view to begin operating immediately after President Trump's inauguration. Do you care? I mean, I think that's what we wanted, isn't it? For them to get started. Musk, Ramaswamy, and the White House have not issued a response yet, and they may not. The Epoch Times says that they contacted the Trump administration for comment, have not heard that yet. In his inaugural speech yesterday, Trump said that he would soon establish DOGE, make it official. Right now, it's just sort of a concept, but he soon, by executive order, is going to make this an official part of his cabinet. And good for him, because we need DOGE. There are a lot of agencies in the federal government we'd never miss, but let's give them a chance. Let's let Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk get into our federal government, look under the hood, right? I mean, earlier in January, Musk said in an interview that DOGE may not be able to cut $2 trillion, describing it as the best-case outcome, but he said he believes that as much as $1 trillion in federal spending will be cut and would lead to no inflation, and that's what it's all about, folks. We elected Donald Trump to make some changes. That's what I think he's going to try to do. You know, one of the best parts of yesterday is that we are done with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. As we saw them depart, in Kamala Harris's case, she got into a black SUV and drove off into the sunset. In Joe Biden's case, it was a little more dramatic as he got on what is not Marine One. It was a military helicopter, but because he's no longer president, it was not deemed Marine One. Did you notice, though, if you happen to be watching, that when Joe Biden walked up the steps to get onto this Marine helicopter, that he turned left? It was just a split second, and you had to be watching closely, but he turned left as if he was going to go in the cockpit. Then he paused, he turned around, and went the right way to his seat. And it was a split second, but it just showed that he once again was confused. Again, Kamala Harris and the second gentleman or whatever, they got into a black SUV and drove off. And, you know, Kamala Harris is staring at a very grim political future and a precarious situation for herself personally. Not that I care one way or the other, because honestly, I don't care if I ever have to see Kamala Harris again. She's too young to retire. She's too big as far as stature to take the Democrat National Committee chair's job, or at least she probably thinks she is. She's too damaged to clear the party's field for the 2028 presidential race. If the Democrats have any bit of sense whatsoever, if they learned from what happened to them last November the 5th, they'll never allow Kamala Harris back on the national ticket again. So now she finds herself facing a return to California and maybe running for governor in 2026. I don't know. I can't imagine that the California Democrat Party would want her heading their ticket there. But look, when you have someone like Gavin Newsom, who knows? But I got a feeling that these horrible wildfires that California is experiencing right now, there's going to be an awakening in California politics. And people like Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass, I think people are going to throw them out of office. I think the left is finally going to wake up and think, well, maybe we need to rethink this idea that our Democrat cronies are the best for these jobs. They may throw Kamala Harris out with Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass at the same time. It's a remarkable turnaround if you think about it, though. You had Kamala Harris, who emerged from her Democrat convention back in the summer as her joy-filled party leader. She talked about joy during the Democrat convention. She had a slight lead in the polls, if you believed it at the time, coming out of the Democrat Party. Then she proceeded to run a very cautious campaign. She was critical of Donald Trump every single day, but in the scheme of things, it was a fairly cautious campaign that was a total failure in the end. She lost to the man whom she deemed a threat to democracy. David McEwen is a political scientist at Sonoma State University. He was quoted in the New York Post as saying, they had a moment and they weren't able to capture or hold on to that moment. Well, that's true. That moment slipped out from under them real quick, didn't it? Ms. Harris spent her morning yesterday in the usual pomp of a transfer of power. She rode from the White House to the Capitol with her successor, Vice President J.D. Vance, and his wife. She told reporters as she was waiting on Vice President Vance to arrive, she said, "This is democracy in action," and smiled one of the few times that she smiled yesterday. Last week, discussing her political future, Ms. Harris, she's 60 years old, she made clear that she sees another act for herself. She doesn't think she's done yet. She was quoted as saying, "As you all know, we have spent long hours, long days, and months and years together. It's not my nature to go quietly into the night, so don't worry about that. Now, that led some to think that, she's going to be fighting. I think the fight's out of Kamala Harris, though. I think she is defeated. You could kind of see that in her yesterday. She was very somber. If you watched her, rarely did she smile. In fact, the only time I saw her smile was when the music didn't work for Carrie Underwood. And it was almost like she got a little satisfaction out of the fact that there was a technical issue during Donald Trump's inauguration. But that non-quiet next step that she talked about, it's not exactly clear where it is. Mr. McEwen said that her options are that remain relevant aren't so great, at least not at the national level. Chair of the Democrat National Committee, for example, would be too big of a step down for her. She couldn't put herself in that position. She'd probably run the Democrat National Convention in the ground like she did her campaign anyway. There's been talk of her maybe, running for governor again. It comes up in 2026. Experts believe that she could chase away most other competitors, but, whether or not, it could lead to another Republican governor like Ronald Reagan in California. An aide to NPR last week said that they see the governorship as too much of a step down as well. So that leaves her just waiting around for the 2028 presidential campaign again. And in 4 years, someone who failed as miserably as Kamala Harris, will Democrats even consider her? I doubt it. Mr. McEwen told the New York Times she's kind of in a national political purgatory. Purgatory is a good way to describe it. Those in Ms. Harris's circle, I guess you could say don't underestimate her, that she's a winner, they believe. They believe that she's proven to be a powerhouse fundraiser and has established a political name recognition shared only by former presidents and their spouses. Well, she has a reputation, all right. I just don't know that it's the type of reputation that you want leading your ticket if you were trounced like they were this year. Surely the Democrats are smart enough to know they got to find another leader. Some talk about, how she was a great prosecutor in San Francisco and California's attorney general, that she was just a great attorney general before winning the U.S. Senate seat in 2016. But since she came to Washington, she's largely been a bystander, according to many who are in that space, in that Democrat politic world. She flamed out in her 2020 bid for the Democrat for the Democrat presidential nomination. She was rescued by then Vice President Joe Biden, who vowed to pick a black woman as his vice presidential nominee. That's the only reason Kamala Harris was vice president, was because Joe Biden had made a promise to his party that he would choose a black woman. You think she doesn't realize that? And as far as Joe Biden goes, we've talked about this a bit before. Where does he go? He goes home to the beach. I mean, who wants Joe Biden doing anything for them at this point? And especially after the way he left office yesterday. Can you believe that he pardoned his entire family, the entire Biden crime family? President Trump did not mention the pardons, of course, in his inauguration speech. He did mention it, though, during a speech after the inauguration in Emancipation Hall, after he ripped the House panel's members as the unselect committee of political thugs. He blasted Joe Biden's last-minute efforts. He called them disgraceful, as Biden has now issued the most pardons and acts of clemency of any commander-in-chief since the late President Jimmy Carter, with at least 65 pardons in all and thousands of commutations. Carter, of course, died last month, pardoned roughly 200,000 Americans for dodging the Vietnam War draft. Joe Biden, he let real criminals out. Joe Biden, of course, gave his own family. First, it was Hunter Biden. And I don't know why he didn't just go ahead and pardon his whole family then, if that was his plans. He issued, of course, pardons for General Mark Milley, Dr. Anthony Fauci, the members of and staff of the Select Committee to investigate the January 6th attack on the U.S. which of course includes Representative Liz Cheney, Adam Kinzinger, the former Republicans, if you want to call them that, as well as U.S. Capitol and D.C. Metropolitan Police officers who testified before the committee. Basically, anybody who was on the record of persecuting the people involved in January the 6th, Joe Biden said, you're pardoned preemptively. Not that any of them have been charged with anything. Now, if you're not guilty, why would you want a preemptive pardon? If you've done nothing wrong, Liz Cheney, Adam Kinzinger, why would you even accept a pardon? Now, Democrats were quick to say, well, just because you are issued a preemptive pardon doesn't mean you're guilty of anything. Well, if you're not guilty of anything, why would you want it? And why would the president offer it to you? There's got to be something there. What am I missing? Text me, email me, joe@joeyhudson.com. I mean, am I just overreacting here? That you have a president who pardons unconditionally his siblings and their spouses? It was a remarkable use of presidential power. I mean, none of these people, his brothers, even though he probably should be charged, so far has not been charged. His brothers' wives, his siblings' spouses have not been charged. None of them have been charged, yet this move was designed to guard against any possible retribution from Donald Trump. Not that there's any signs that there ever would be any. It is just unbelievable. Your comments are welcome on the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Furman Ford text line, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. Let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Furman Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you can trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Furman Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Furman, Matthew Furman. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Furman Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Furman Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Furman Ford online at furmanford.com, furmanford.com. We talked a bit yesterday about the drama with TikTok over the weekend. It shut down momentarily, I think, to try to push Trump and the U.S. government into giving them an extension. That's a other whole new issue, though. TikTok, though, was not the only app having some issues. According to a report by the New York Post, the Customs and Borders CBP One app went down yesterday at 12 noon. The big difference is Donald Trump's not going to try to save it. President Trump wasted no time addressing the southern border yesterday. That was front and foremost in his inaugural speech. At noon yesterday, as he was becoming president, the New York Post reports that the Customs and Border Protection officially shut down the CBP One app. This is the controversial system launched under Joe Biden that has allowed over 900,000 migrants to enter the U.S. since January of 2023. The app's cancellation has already sparked a lot of issues at the border and in other countries, as, again, according to the New York Post, many people who were planning to come or who had appointments via the app, literally it brought them to tears when it was canceled. It's already going to bring legal challenges as well. Trump says, though, it's just the beginning. Here's what we know. The CBP One app went offline at exactly 12 p.m. yesterday, coinciding with Donald Trump swearing in. For months, the app has enabled tens of thousands of migrants every month to schedule entry appointments. Footage from Juarez, Mexico, shows migrants breaking down in tears upon learning that their appointments were canceled. Many had been waiting for weeks, some even months, to enter the U.S. through the app. In his inaugural address, President Trump wasted no time. It was one of the first things he talked about, declaring the border crisis a national emergency. He announced plans to send troops to the southern border to restore order, labeled violent migrant gangs, including MS-13 and Tren de Arga, as terrorist organizations. These groups have literally wreaked havoc on communities across our country, and I think Donald Trump's going to stop it now. Trump's designation opens the door for stronger enforcement and penalties, and we're going to see this immediately. This is something that he can do immediately. It's going to take some time for the Trump administration to do things that are going to affect inflation. It's going to affect our spending ability. But shutting down the border, he can do almost immediately, and he started that yesterday. In a very bold move, Trump also announced plans to invoke the Alien Enemies Act of 1798. Look it up. While controversial, this law has historically given precedent and would allow the administration to detain and deport foreign nationals considered threats to national security, including members of dangerous gangs like MS-13. Those on the left are already raising concerns. Trump insists it's necessary to protect American lives, and he's right. One of the more controversial things is going to be birthright citizenship, which Trump's going to challenge. There's going to be a fight over that one, I can guarantee you. Immigration and Customs Enforcement is preparing to launch mass deportations in sanctuary cities. These operations have been temporarily paused, we're told, because of some logistical reasons, but I can promise you, when you least suspect it, Tom Holman and his team are going to swing into action because President Trump made it very clear. America's immigration system is going to get a major overhaul, and it's going to happen quickly. The Biden administration had warned that shutting down CBP One, this app, could lead to a spike in illegal crossings in dangerous areas of the border. And this is how Joe Biden tried to govern. Joe Biden would try to give us a scary tactic or a scary scenario of why we shouldn't do things. He was too afraid to shut down the CBP One app because he was convinced that, well, they're just going to go to another place at the border. And they might do that. But under Trump, they're going to be met by either a wall or an armed guard, one of the two. But I promise you, just because the CBP One app goes away, it's not going to make it easier for them to get into our country. Critics say that it incentivizes mass migration, which it does. It makes it easier for people to get into our country, never to be seen again. And that's been the problem. Joe Biden hasn't cared, so once they got into the country, shoot, we gave them free airfare to a city of their choice. Not anymore. Now, President Trump's decisive actions at the southern border, they're already making waves. Supporters praising his boldness, and of course his critics are ready to go to court. We're going to see more lawsuits over the next few years, more money, sadly, because it's our money. And you would think that these groups would see that because it's their money too. They pay taxes just like you and I do. But they hate Donald Trump and our country so badly that they're willing to do this. By the way, if you watched any of yesterday's proceedings or celebration, I guess you could say, when you got a lot going on like yesterday, that was a massive undertaking to start at prayer breakfasts and go all the way through the day. Something's going to always go wrong, right? I don't care how well you got it planned. Something's going to go wrong when you have that many people involved in a day-long festive occasion like Inauguration Day. Carrie Underwood realized this when right in the middle of the inauguration ceremonies in the rotunda, her music track failed to play. It didn't faze her. There was a moment of awkwardness because you could tell she didn't know whether she should proceed or what. At some point, she just showcased her musical talent and professionalism and decided to perform America the Beautiful a cappella. She kind of smiled and she said, "You all know the words, help me out here," and started singing, and the whole room started singing with her. Without missing a beat, she took control of the moment. Speaking with a member of the production team, she confidently decided to perform the song a cappella, addressing the audience again, saying, hey, help me out here. She said, if you know the words. Her performance received enthusiastic participation, applause from the crowd, and I imagine there are a lot of people like I was applauding at home. After concluding the song, Underwood clapped for those who sang along. She shook Biden's hand. She shared a moment with President Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance. President Trump later expressed his gratitude with a congratulatory kiss. This unplanned a cappella performance drew widespread praise on social media. She was already a star, but I think that this kind of showed how professional she is and how classy she is. Fans and commentators applauded her poise under pressure. I mean, the whole world was watching her. And the music doesn't start. What do? Well, when you're a professional like her, you start singing. That's what she was there for. One person said, imagine being so talented that when technology fails, you just go, fine, I'll do it live, and you crush it. Others called her performance a testament to resilience and the spirit of overcoming challenges. However you want to characterize it, it was a wonderful job, and Carrie Underwood, again, just proved what a true professional and what a patriot she is, because, she came under fire for even being there yesterday. A lot of her leftist entertainment buddies were critical that she would even consider performing at Donald Trump's inauguration. Underwood, she's pretty much stayed out of political events. She hasn't been outspoken like some of the entertainers are. She said, I love our country, and I'm honored to have been asked to sing at the inauguration and to be a small part of this historic event. She said, I'm humbled to answer the call at a time when we must all come together in the spirit of unity and looking to the future. And that's the attitude we all need to have, right? That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined my mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, join me on my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, comment, and subscribe. Just search for Joey Hudson. As always, thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Do me a favor and forward this episode to a few friends. Just click on the share button and send to your contacts. We need to build an army of conservatives to win our country back, and we can do that by continuing to share the truth with our friends and family. Keep those comments coming via the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. Email to joey@joeyhudson.com, and I love your messages on the MyPillow message line. Again, that's 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Be sure and take advantage of the MyPillow special, just $14.88 on the standard MyPillows when you use promo code Joey. Order online at mypillow.com or call 800-893-4053. We're back again tomorrow and hope you'll plan to join us. Until then, remember, God's got this. He's still in control.